Hey everyone, Jay Carpenter here with Fahrenheit Advisors and CEO, co-founder of Pool House, Mr. Will Ritter. Will, how are you, man?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here. How are you and Kelly and the fam and the dogs? How's everyone holding up?
We are, like everybody, we are hunkered down and trying to make the best of a tough situation. We are happy and healthy and lucky.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been to your new office in Richmond, downtown Richmond, beautiful space. Not getting to use that. You
No,
have
it's a heartbreaker.
offices.
The good news is that we did have that big opening party, and that was, I think, probably the last social event most of the people in that room went to before kind of the Corona gates went up. So I'm happy that we had to do that, but like any other business owner watching this, it is painful to pay rent on a nice space and be sitting in your own guest room.
I can imagine. You also have offices in Atlanta and Houston, so you all were way ahead of the remote, not remote, but virtual game. But has anything changed with how you're communicating with your teams and day to day in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to be a lot more intentional with keeping the team together and keeping people on the same page and not, getting into their silos. That's so we always have had a morning meeting. We call it morning swim, which is a Zoom meeting that we before COVID we were doing every morning. That has now changed twice a day, and it's kind of a more robust meeting where we can knock around ideas for advertising campaigns or business development, that kind of jazz. So we've done that. We're doing more video conferencing, a lot more Slack video, just one-on-one, and almost, particularly with clients, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but anytime that there's an opportunity to do something at least like this, at least that you can see them, I think that that's, a richer experience than an email or a phone call. So even though it might mean you have to put a shirt on, it's still, I think, more beneficial. But nothing's, we're doing a lot of other things with social media and the whole jazz. We can get into that, but I think the point is, I think you can do these things virtually. There's methods to do it, but and things might change after this, but nothing replaces, at least in my business, in the creative business, being there and being able to work with people closely, travel and that kind of deal. So totally, I'm looking forward to getting back to normal, as I'm sure most people are.
Yeah, absolutely. So in creative business, you're used to doing campaigns and you're doing these big video shoots and photo shoots. What are you doing? Obviously, we can't do that right now. What are you doing to create content? How are you coming up with new content for your clients?
Yeah, we've got to be creative. I mean, I'll do an example. One that was kind of an internal thing. We did Pool House Cribs, which is we had our employees kind of go through their domestic situation and do it like an MTV Crib style thing, and we've gotten some good feedback on that. Gives our folks something to do and kind of show off what kind of editing we can do. For our clients, we're having to get creative with a lot of self-shot videos, stitching together videos that maybe they do on their own iPhone. We recently did a governor's ad. I'm sorry about that noise. We recently did a governor's ad in Utah, or the governor's campaign, that was shot completely on an iPhone. Granted, we were there, but that's the kind of thinking that you got to be able to do to get around this. So also a lot of repurposing. It's more boring to say this, but a lot of repurposing of old footage in new ways, giving it new treatments, that kind of jazz. But definitely have to get creative.
Sure. So you mentioned you work with companies, but a lot of your work is with associations and political campaigns. And I can feel my leadership team getting antsy even that we're going down that path, and I'm not, I promise. But as it relates to that, what has COVID and the legislation meant for small business owners? How could that affect elections that are really close by, that kind of flown under the radar for folks not on the inside like yourself? And then full circle, how does that come back to affect local business owners in Central Virginia?
Sure.
Loaded question. I apologize.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at that, but I am kind of at the intersection of all those trains of thought. So from a small business perspective, I think that we should feel good that the government was able to get their act together and rush much needed fluidity to small businesses. There was some hiccups, but it did get there. Also to just in checks to people to kind of, I call it, it just kind of calmed down the panic, right? It calmed down the panic, which is going to happen when 1 out of 10 people have suddenly lost their job. It has a kind of a societal effect. So that was a good calming thing, but it wasn't a solution. And to be frank, the amount of money that we spent is more than TARP. We can't keep doing this. And that's not just from fiscally conservative Republicans saying this. We do not have the opportunity to keep paying folks to either not work or stay home. So while everybody kind of waits for it to be healthy, I think we have to realize that there is going to be a big change, and when we come out of this, that the government is not going to be able to fix most of the problems that are generated. How that affects the election, both up and down the ticket, I think people will vote with their pocketbooks, as they usually do. That's usually the core issue. It's not hyperbole. We were living in one of the best economies that had ever existed up until 2 months ago. Unemployment was almost non-existently low. That is now going to be up in the 15-20% range. People tend to react classically in elections to that kind of information by changing who's in office. It's tough to run an incumbent's message when there's been a big crisis, an economic crisis, and this is kind of a dual health and economic crisis. So I think that will shake things up and kind of reframe the argument. We were going to have maybe a socialism versus good economy election. That's not what we're going to be having now. It's going to be a who do you trust to get us out of this mess kind of election.
Yeah, absolutely. And then bring that back to the small business owners here, as we deal with the SMB space, and not just here, but everywhere. 6-12 months from now, what does that mean?
I think people are going to, they're going to have to make choices, and something that we've done at Pool House, is to focus on the core competencies, right? It's not all bad news. It's not just about cutting. You have to get creative, but a good way to do that is to focus on what you do really well and find a way that people, it can be a win-win for your clients by utilizing what you do. The next 6-12 months, I can't imagine this is the time to take bets on big expansions, to take a bet on starting a new vertical or something like that. I think you'll see a lot more conservative moves in the business community. I think something that small businesses can do, small and medium-sized businesses can do, is try to support one another, and we've looked at ways that we can do that. One example here in Richmond is kind of a double problem. One, I've got some editors that have some bandwidth. I've got some copywriters that have some bandwidth now. What am I going to have them do? Well, I want them to read, business books or industry books. My partner Tim and I thought of this idea to everybody kind of have to read a book and kind of present their summary in a month if they're taking advantage of any downtime we had. And to get those books, we, instead of going to Amazon, we called up Chop Suey. And we found a way to go and pick up Chop Suey books in the fan. They ordered them for us and they stacked it up. So those are the kind of things that you can just being thoughtful about. Okay, how's a way that we can kind of give everybody a lift to get through this tough period in any way we can?
Yeah, absolutely. So Will Ritter, Pool House, he's doing national association and political campaign ads, but he's also helping Main Street Richmond. And we appreciate you being with us. Jay Carpenter, Fahrenheit Advisors, and we'll check in with you next time. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot, Jay. See you guys.